Hello and welcome to Facebook Live. I'm Manisha, and the Personal Data Protection Bill is currently being analysed by the Joint Committee in Parliament, and it is getting important now because as and when this thing is passed, you will see some structural operational changes happening in India for individuals and more importantly for the companies. There is a lot of learning that we have to take from the global markets as well, as they also work on data privacy here. But what does it really mean for India? What are the cost impacts? What are the economy impacts? For all of that, we have with us Amit Dubey. He's a cyber crime expert. Amit, thank you so much for taking time out for us today. First of all, tell us on why there is so much of interest suddenly by the government, not just in India, but across globe.
I think this has been discussed since a long time, and it was pending, it was due, and why there is an interest, because if you see the dynamics of last 10 years, I'll just give you some data and then you will appreciate the value of this data. In 2010, when WhatsApp was formed, and in 2014 when it was acquired, in just 3 years, they were valued $19 billion.
Yes.
And they were offering their product free, of course. They were not charging anything with the customers. They were serving 450 million users worldwide. And total number of employees in this organization was 45.
Okay.
So you need to see these numbers like a company which is offering their product free, and they are valued $19 billion. And this $19 billion is a huge money, because if we need to compare it with some other such business house like Mr. Anand Mahindra, his entire wealth may not be that much, though he is owning more than 70 companies, and he is charging money for each of his service and each of his product. And they are from automobile to IT to everywhere, entertainment. So why it is so? Why this data is valued so much? Who is interested in this data? And why somebody is trying to pay such premium for this data? That we need to understand. So it was started in 2010, and then now if you see the top 10 companies, they all are actually following the same pattern, whether it is Facebook, whether it is Twitter, whether it is TikTok, anybody who is just offering you a service which is free, including Pokemon Go for that matter. Now this data is going out, this data is being sold to many other players, this data is being analyzed, data is being manipulated in favor of something. And why it is so? Because technically we always say that this entire world is a software program, and we all are artificial intelligence plugins. So if I need to understand Manisha, I just need to see like where she was studied, where she has...
Or everything about my data, which is all available on every app that I download.
And then I can actually use the same information to manipulate you, to force you, to make you insecure about something, because I know your vulnerabilities, and that is something which has started happening, and that's why the government has to intervene, and they need to now control and regulate the state misuse of this data.
So what are the global learnings from this? Because I do realize that we are not the only ones isolated into this.
Yes, so because it was already started long back in Europe, and when there was data breaches and impact on individuals because of the data breaches, they realized like we need to put some guidelines, some regulations, and then GDPR came in practice. And after this GDPR, we found like now companies started taking this seriously, and they had to took some initiatives to make it secure, so that they can avoid some data breaches, because you are holding somebody's personal data, and there is a risk when this data is leaked, because somebody can make an attempt to attack that person on virtual world, and that was actually taken seriously after that. And now in India as well, because we are so concerned about the similar kind of practices. I'll give you some example. After GDPR, when this Heathrow incident happened, somebody found a pen drive on airport with the complete itinerary of Queen's travel, along with some personal contact numbers of the security guards, and then they were fined 120 million or K pound, I think, UK currency. So that was something that took all other airports in
tizzy, I'm sure.
Yes, because it could happen with anybody, any organization.
So while of course we will talk about the companies and what it means for them once this bill is passed, but for an individual, for a person like me and you, what would it really mean? How would it change our lives, for better or worse?
So it will really impact as an individual to us and to an organization, and also to a society to a larger extent, because now government has a right to see some of your data. First of all, government has a right to regulate some of this data. So they have classified this data into personal data and sensitive data and general data. And for each kind of data, there are different kind of penalties if it is leaked and by the owners who is holding it. So if you are giving your mobile numbers to a security guard, and it is leaked from there, there will be penalty to him as well, to the organization who is actually asking your data. So now onwards, whoever is asking your data, they'll be responsible to make it secure and to protect. Otherwise, they should not keep your personal and sensitive data. And what all information is required in the sensitive classifications, like your interests, your genders, your many other details. These are clearly mentioned now in the bill. Like these kind of data, if you are asking from someone, you need to ensure a level of security, and if it is leaked or if it is breached, you will be penalized from 2 crores to 15 crores somewhere.
So Amit, you know, when you buy white goods, when you check into a hotel, when you're traveling, I mean, you end up giving so much data, and you also divulge your data when you're downloading an app.
Right.
So what changes would come in here?
So this is applicable for any such platform, application, intermediaries, whether it is a mobile app where you are giving this data. And that's why the government has also clearly put these guidelines, like if somebody is asking your sensitive data, and even through an app, they have to keep this data in India. They can't keep it outside.
Right.
And that's why, and there is a set of data which they can keep outside. So this is clearly now demarcated, which everybody has to follow, whether it is a Facebook, WhatsApp, or other mobile apps and players. Those are actually offering you any service free of cost, because they are interested in your data, and they are using this data for their own businesses. So without your consent, if they are sharing this data with any other party, the maximum penalty is, I think, 15 crores now. And even with your consent, if they are holding this data and if it is leaked, there is a penalty of 5 crores. So in either of these situations, they have to take care the corrective actions.
So that clearly is the other part of it. But when it comes to companies, when you talk about co-location, etc., so what are the structural changes? What are the operational changes that we are looking at, and how much will it increase costs for many of these companies?
So first of all, you need to understand from the technical perspective, like if you are collecting any data, the data could rely on, like it is in 3 places. Normally it resides at 3 places. Data at rest, which is the storage, then backups, and data in transit when you are accessing this data. And data at the user end. So now either of these 3-4 locations, you need to ensure security. So if it is at rest, it should be encrypted with proper standards. If it is in transit, it should be encrypted. And if it is at user level, it should be multi-factor authenticated. So in either of these situations, you need to ensure that you are following these standards. Okay. Otherwise, if it is leaked and you are not following these standards, you will be penalized.
So while, as you said, we've been discussing it for many years now, and finally it is being discussed into the parliament as well. The committee is talking about it. Is there a timeline for this on when this could really come?
We are hopeful that it will be cleared in this session. If we'll have a good discussion and a good debate on it, probably it should be cleared now, because it's being pending since a long time, and it will definitely impact to our GDP as well. To see the positive aspects of it, all these organizations, those are actually anyway holding this data, they are misusing this data, and that is not actually coming to our real GDP, because it is illegally used sometime. Second, there will be some new kind of job opportunities that will be popping up, because they have already mentioned, like every organization should have a data protection officer, and then set of people, those will ensure this data security, whether it has to be encrypted or data in transit or implementations of new technologies. Each of this thing will create lots of new jobs. So I'm expecting almost 8 to 9 lakhs of new jobs to be created only in India.
Amit, final question. You are a cyber security expert. There is a lot of things that you have come across within the framework, outside the framework as well. So, just to throw a number here, how many such instances actually have you come across? What age group has it impacted so much, and what would your advice be really to the users?
From criminal perspective,
that's right.
So most of these criminal activities that we observe today are done by youngsters, like an age group from 15 to 25 years of age. Almost 60 to 70% such crimes are reported. Even severe crimes like bank frauds and financial frauds, including the cyberbullying, cyber stalking kind of issues. But we always find such kind of people, those are active because they have enough time. They can use technology to manipulate people and to manipulate users. And most of the time they are misusing it. So that is the reason we need to regulate all these things. And sometimes when after the crime we try to access this data from the intermediaries, it becomes very difficult because the data is not in India, it is outside, and they follow the international norms. Especially from the case of a WhatsApp, suppose somebody's video goes viral on WhatsApp, and I simply request from WhatsApp owners, like, can you give me the trace of this data?
Doesn't
they can't.
happen.
They'll never give. And though there are possibilities that they can give, but we are not very clear about our regulations first. We can't push them, and there is no such norms which can help us to push them so that they have to provide this data. So these are the reasons that this data privacy will definitely help to our law enforcement agencies as well to sort out these situations, to reach to these criminals.
So what is the number like? I mean, I assume this is still new. Do a lot of people come forward? Do they report? Should they be reporting? Will they get justice?
I'll give you some reference numbers from UP because I've been closely associated with UP Cyber Cell and the Women Helpline 1090. So they have a dedicated 1090 helpline for any such kind of crime. You can report anonymously as well. And they received 13,000 complaints last year, only in UP.
Okay.
And believe me, this is very low as compared to the population of UP. I think there might be more than 200,000, 300,000 complaints. Not everybody is reaching out to these helplines because nobody is aware about these helplines. So we need to spread this word first, and though the success rate is quite high because most of the time we receive very petty crimes complaints like somebody is stalking, somebody has created a clone profile, and they can be resolved quickly. But you should actually reach out to these helplines to get resolved.
All right. Amit, thank you so much for your time. I mean, this really clearly has been a lot of information today. So the bill is still under conversation in the Parliament. The expectation is that we will see a passage of this bill during this session, but there is plenty, lot to understand into this, and a huge various verticals that you need to get into it. And we will, of course, keep coming back to you with more information on that. Thank you, Amit.
Thank you. Thank you, Manish.